Squiz Kids acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands on which we podcast, the Turrbal and Kombumerri people.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Thursday, June 6. In Squiz Kids Today, kings and soldiers celebrate D-Day. Rocket collects moon rocks. State of origin blockbuster. And Squizzy sniffs a deep fake. That's what's making news, kids style.
The Lowdown.
A long way away, on the coastline of France, a king, lots of dignitaries from many different countries, and a handful of very old soldiers will gather today to remember a really important day in history. Today is the 80th anniversary of something called the D-Day landings. The D-Day landings were a massive military operation that saw 156,000 soldiers storm the beaches of Normandie on the French coastline to try to turn the tide of the Second World War. Most were troops from the United States, Britain and Canada, but approximately 3,300 soldiers who bravely jumped from boats and made their way up the beaches of Normandy whilst enemy gunfire rained down upon them were Australian. And so today, the King of England, King Charles, his son Prince William, Australia's Governor-General John Hurley, French President Emmanuel Macron, US President Joe Biden and Canadian PM Justin Trudeau will gather at a place called Omaha Beach to remember this important battle. You know how here in Australia we pause every April 25 to mark Anzac Day and an important battle that happened in a place called Gallipoli? Yeah, well, this is a similar occasion. And while all of those presidents and prime ministers and kings and princes are all very important, the most important people there today will be the handful of now very old former soldiers who were actually there on the day the D-Day landings took place. Old men who were once young soldiers who selflessly risked their lives so that we can enjoy the relative peace we have today. The real heroes of D-Day. Meanwhile, still in France, and at the time of uploading this podcast in the wee hours of this morning, Australia's great hope at the French Open tennis tournament, Alex de Minaur, was one set down to Germany's Alexander Zverev. Come on, Demon, we're rooting for a good old Aussie fight back.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed on the moon. So, not exactly on the world globe, but kind of hovering off in orbit just around it. Where a Chinese spaceship has become the first ever to collect rocks from the far side of the moon and is now preparing to bring them back to Earth. So, what's the big deal about rocks from the moon? Well, firstly, as we discussed on Monday's podcast, the Chinese space mission to land on the far side of the moon is only the second time a country has managed to do that. Because we can't see the far or the dark side of the moon, it makes it really tricky to land rockets there. And now, the Chang'e 6 rocket, as it's called, has collected a bunch of rocks and dirt and is making its way back to Earth for scientists to study them. Mission almost accomplished. So why is any of this significant? Well, because there's something of a space race going on at the moment between countries of the world like China, India and the United States to see who can get humans back on the moon the soonest and who can build a permanent human base there. Imagine that.
Sport time!
It all came unstuck for New South Wales 8 minutes into the State of Origin last night as a high tackle on star Queensland fullback Reece Walsh saw the Blues forced to play one man down for almost the entire match, which then saw them lose the first game of the series by 38 points to 10. In front of a huge crowd in Sydney, the Queensland Maroons were just too strong, running off the field with the biggest ever win for a Queensland side in a State of Origin game held in Sydney. The Blues came bursting out of halftime sheds with a renewed sense of energy and purpose, and for a moment it seemed as if they might present a challenge. But finally, it was a largely one-sided affair, including a hat-trick of tries for Dolphins fullback Hamisai Tabuai Fidau. Next stop for the NRL State of Origin circus is Game 2 at Melbourne's MCG in 3 weeks' time.
Newshounds.
Every Thursday, Squizzy the Newshound sticks his head into Squiz Kids HQ to report back on fishy things he's sniffed out on the internet. And today, his nose is twitching wildly, having just gotten back from the United Kingdom, where fake news on TikTok is spreading like wildfire as the country goes to an election. As we've mentioned here on the podcast before, the United Kingdom is in the midst of an election campaign, meaning the people are being asked to decide who should run their country. And as often happens at the time of elections, social media has become flooded with memes and misinformation and fake news from people who are trying to influence the outcome of the election. Right now, TikTok in the UK is full of deep fake videos of the British Prime Minister appearing to say stuff he's never said, and other videos making untrue claims about other candidates in the election. And the problem is, because very few people have learned to spot disinformation when they come across it online, they're taking these videos at face value and believing what they're being told. Luckily though, as newshounds, we know better than to automatically believe everything we see, read or hear online. We know to do as Squizzy the Newshound is always telling us, and that is to stop, think and check. And remember, if you and your class want to become newshounds, get your teacher to sign up to Squiz Kids' very own, totally free media literacy program called, incidentally enough, Newshounds. You can do so at squizkids.com.au and you'll be mighty glad you did.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. On the coast of which European country did the D-Day landings take place 80 years ago? Well done if you said France. Question number 2. Squizzy the Newshound has been sniffing around an election that is taking place in which country? Yeah, well done if you said the United Kingdom. Question number 3. What precious cargo is the Changi 6 rocket ship bringing back from the moon for scientists to study? Yeah, that's right, it's bringing back moon rocks.
Shout outs.
It's June 6. 2 big sporting events are on tonight. There's Game 2 of the Women's State of Origin Rugby League in Newcastle, and also the Men's World Cup soccer qualifier between Australia's Socceroos and Bangladesh. Go the Socceroos. It's also a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Xavier from Yass, Olivia from Sydney, Valentina from Greystanes, Mia from Caversham, Molly from Botany, Winner and Amalia from Brisbane, Benji from Randwick, Isabella from Belrose, and Adrian from Warren South. And a special shout out today to Addison in Botany from her special friend Amanda. And belated birthday shout-outs go to Tammy from East Ulverston, Abigail from Dolan's Bay, and Sagoon, who's listening all the way over there in Bangkok in Thailand. And classroom shout-outs today go to the grade 6 classes at Our Lady of Fatima Catholic Primary School in Caringbah, Class 5-6B and Miss Barrett at Mandama Primary School, Class 6G and Mrs. Goulding at Hilltop Road Public School in Merrylands, Class 6J with Miss Jones at Gulgong Public School, and Class 5-6 with Mr. Buttsworth at Bayanami Public School in Parramatta. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout out, or if you're after a classroom shout out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au or fill out the form on our website. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. I'll be back again tomorrow with the Kids vs. Adults Weekly News Quiz. Your chance to prove who's been paying the most attention to the week that just was. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out.